Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Welcome to my StarOS Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 135. Any articles or videos mentioned can be found on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for weekly recap newsletter in 183. Just a quick summary of things that happened this past week in Star Atlas. The Star Atlas community team did the traditional Wednesday Atlas Brew. There was also a Lore Keepers event, and that was pretty much it. But again, that's pretty typical for a week in Star Atlas. But before we get to that, just wanted to mention a couple things that I'm working on in Star Atlas. Again, my website, Intergalactic Herald, it's a great Star Atlas resource. I have guides there, directories of Star Atlas content creators and tools, recaps, and a Discord announcement newsfeed. So you can check all that out at intergalacticherald.com. Do have my Star Atlas merch store at intergalacticgear.com. Open for business, not a lot of selection, but I do have a merch survey. And if you have a moment, love to get some feedback on merch you may want to see in the store. And then I am on a slow burner trying to put together a Star Atlas community of gamers who are not interested in joining guilds, but yet nevertheless want to hang out with other Star Atlas gamers. You can check that out at intergalacticcoalition.com. As I mentioned, there were two community events this past week, the Atlas Brew and the Lore Keepers. Go in reverse order on the Lore Keepers. Yeah, sorry, I'm not really into the lore that much in Star Atlas. But my AI summary, it's about a 3 or 4 minute audio thing, actually was pretty good and did mention that some new information was given on the upcoming single player campaign actually to the Project Gallia. This is a part of the UE5 game that is more about the space exploration where you can get in your ships and go to different planets and check things out. So they actually mentioned that they're working toward actually having a single player campaign where you can do different things, quests and things like that. So actually that was actually really great information. And I, again, sheepishly did not listen to the full thing. However, if you want to, Star Atlas TV, the YouTube channel, does have the full recording. And again, if you just want the overview summary, again, you can check that out on my website. So the Wednesday Atlas Brew topic this time was state of the community. So the community team was polling the community members that showed up, asking how do they feel about the different parts of Star Atlas that's out right now. So I'll go through just at least the highlights for me that came up. One, they asked for kind of feedback on the UE5 version of the game. Apparently, I guess it's really easy to kill people in the game. So it was, again, I haven't been playing, so I'm not 100% sure, but they said that targeting is incredibly accurate and things like that. And again, I think part of the thing, or actually someone mentioned, as much as it's not a terrible experience, they are wishing that the UE5 version would get back and focus, or I guess it hasn't get back, but start focusing more on the space exploration. And again, they alluded to that some information was coming out at the Lore Keepers meeting, which of course I've already mentioned. That's actually, I think, interesting that there might be something along that lines. They did take the pulse of the community on HoloSim. A lot of people in the team agreed that unfortunately the rollout had many issues, and that did hurt the public release of that new experience. So it's, I think, new season or new chapter. And they did state that going forward, they are going to go ahead and wait and make sure to really fine-tune these things before they release, because this is more of the public-facing product that is at a point of maturity. So they do want to do that. So I think, again, team understands what happened, trying to work to address that going forward. So that all makes sense. And then on Sage, though, a little bit was brought up, a lot of talk about these Phantom Star bases, which I have to admit I didn't really follow, but there's a different way you can turn things in, and then you get part of, I think, the loyalty point pool, which is where the Atlas submissions are coming from, and part of these Phantom Star bases were to have better control over the Atlas submission. But many people, or a few people, got on and mentioned that it's really changed the dynamics of how Sage is played and really much more focused on individuals as opposed to your faction. Again, I'm doing my own little thing in Sage, so not really up on different tactics related to the star bases and the LP pool and these faction infrastructure contracts and things like that. But overall, I think it was great, and the community team mentioned they'll try to do this on a regular basis. So I think getting feedback, they did mention they took notes and sent them right to the different people within the team. So I think, again, that's what community is about, sharing things, getting feedback, and then sharing with the project team. So all in all, it was a good event and nice to listen to. So again, if you're interested in the full recording, again, Star Atlas TV on their YouTube channel has it, and I do have a 5-minute plus AI summary audio on my podcast stream, so you can check that out on intergalacticherald.com. Moving on to the next section, as I typically do, thinking and talking about the state of Star Atlas for this past week and what's going on. I think on the Atlas Brew about the state of the community, looking at it in a bigger picture, they did, hey, on a scale 1 to 10, whatever everybody thinking. And if anything, I think the community, at least the numbers I remember them pushing out, and I was listening on a replay, so obviously I wasn't there live and couldn't look around. But it did seem like people weren't as optimistic this time ago around. But I think this is probably just because we're in a slow period of the game's development. The Star Atlas Summer was a great campaign. A lot of things released, from the Holosim to the improvements in the UE5 shooter version. And I'm trying to think there's something. Oh, and the Zinc. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, nothing else is happening. So I think that's a little bit of that. The Project Gallia improvements for single player space exploration type of thing, I think those are very interesting. But I have to admit, it was hard to get a sense if this was a real initiative or, again, just individual efforts. And again, I don't want to say anything bad about people who are working on things, but it does feel like, again, not really part of the main pipeline of what's going on with the C4 and Zinc and Holosim. Again, that's fine. If we see something in a few months, I think will be really interesting, because the things we've seen up to date have been interesting. In fact, I was playing around with that, and unfortunately, since it seemed like just a tech demo, is like there was no reason to spend more than 5 or 10 minutes looking at a planet, because it's just a placeholder. So again, we'll see where that goes. But overall, I think everything has this feeling of being in limbo, waiting for C4. And I think that came up a few comments either in the chat or people were talking verbally at the Atlas Brew. And again, I think that is acknowledged by the team, and everybody knows this is the next thing, and it just isn't here yet. Per the last we heard, there was supposed to be can't remember what PTR stands for, but a demo where everybody can test it. And again, we haven't heard anything when that's coming. As I speculated on either the last or the other podcast, C4 sounds like it's tied to Zinc, and again, makes a lot of sense for the blockchain issues and all that. But again, we don't really have anything about Zinc on the thing. One thing I did realize that Star Atlas Summer I don't think talked about is the whole idea of the UE5 preseason. There were all these seasons, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then names got changed, and now is preseason. And I'm like, that seems to have fallen off the radar. I don't hear anybody mentioning that much anymore. So again, just hadn't heard about that. Zinc, I still think, is incredibly exciting. They mentioned a little bit of that at the end of the Atlas Brew, but the schedule seems to now be in a state of flux. So again, it's really hard to put much in when, all we had was the announcement, and then it's gone quiet since then. Holosim definitely sounds interesting. A lot of people are talking about it. There was some NPC action that we're doing some things, and then, so again, it seems very dynamic. I'm still not sure exactly where they're at on all the bugs and the issues like that, but they are definitely talking about committing more to it and addressing the bugs for the next chapter and things like that. And then, wasn't brought up at this one, but still on my radar, wanting to get more look at the C4 Sage editor. Again, I just haven't had time, but I think there's a lot intriguing in there. So anyway, so that's my thoughts on the kind of state of Star Atlas this past week. As far as my playing Star Atlas, again, I've been using my fleets in Sage to mine some resources to get a Mamba X. Been actually making pretty decent progress mining. Partly, I think the resources are a little easier to mine and things like that. However, I ran out of food on my miner and been busy with other things. And this morning, I just looked at it and I was like, I can move some more food. And I, to be honest, just lost all initiative and just turned off my laptop running the Sly Assistant. And partly, it just feels like I'm going through the motions. Haven't researched again if Mamba X's are still available, but with all the talk of the Phantom Star bases and other things, I get the funny feeling that's not even an option, or the supplies run out. So it feels like all I'm doing is mining things, spending Solana, which seems to be on a tear on its valuation. And I don't even know how much the resources I'm mining are costing if you were to just buy them. And again, I'm just moving through anyways. And I think, unfortunately, now with the promise of this Zinc coming out, and that if you do actions within different parts of Star Atlas, you could be earning it. What's my incentive to do things now when I can do things later. Basically, I've had to come to grips with just what I've always known, which is that Sages doesn't have a small player purpose. I kidded myself that I could just invest time, grab all these resources, doesn't matter how long it takes. I'm still perfectly fine putting a certain amount of dollars in each month to cover the Solana fees until we can either move to Zinc or the Atlas Locker or whatever. But investing time now when the game rules / design changes, again, it's just really hard to keep going through the motions. I totally get it, but it is just really hard to stay motivated with all these moving targets. And again, I'm not really faulting the development of Star Atlas. There was a lot of great information at the town halls. It makes, looking back at the last 6 months, a lot of progression there, tying in with all the new things with the ink object that you can get in the shooter that goes into Sage and all this other things, and trying to keep the economy going with the Phantom Star bases. Everything feels right. It just feels the same. And it's really hard, I think. And again, I knew it wasn't going to be necessarily cool as a small player to do much, but I just thought time was my champion, but now it's just, so I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll turn it back on, but I don't know, it just feels like until something changes, it's just going through the motions and paying Solana fees, which again should be taken away by Zinc and not earning. So anyways, again, not trying to be too downer, but just, I guess, more of a pragmatist, as I've always said. If there's no purpose to do all these actions, and again, maybe that's the key, and my goals were wrong. You should be doing things that earn Atlas. I was even toying with, well, should I put my fleets into the fleet rental? And I'm like, I guess I could earn Atlas that way. I don't know, I might look into that, but again, that takes time and energy, and I don't know. It's not exactly the gameplay that I had been excited about, and I guess part of it is some of it just doesn't feel, I don't know. I don't want to be whatever, but what's next? And again, I totally understand the need for Zinc. I think it'll be a really cool campaign, but again, it's not here today. So anyways, sorry to leave on a downer, but again, decided to throw in the towel and just turn off my automation. And there, again, maybe I should look at the fleet rental. At least my ships could be doing something, but I don't know. We'll see. So anyways, on that note, that's it for my thoughts on the past week. Again, if anybody's interested in being a guest on my podcast, definitely open to that idea. You can either come on and talk to community members, can talk about the week in review. Definitely open to any Star Atlas builders, content creators, or definitely any team members to come on and talk about things. Please go to intergalacticherald.com, find my contact page, and you can reach out that way. Also, again, while you're there, do check out any of my guides, directories, recaps, Discord newsfeed. Many resources are there. And if you're interested in any Star Atlas merch, please check out intergalacticgear.com. And if you're a Star Atlas gamer, not interested in joining a guild, but like to get together with other gamers, definitely want to help facilitate building a community for that, please check out intergalacticcoalition.com. And that was it for the Star Atlas Week in Review. This is Matt with Intergalactic Herald. Have a great week ahead.